They are lying to you about heartburn. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, they are lying to you about heartburn in 3 different ways. They lie about how many people have it, how bad it is, and also what you should do about it. And all of this is coming from very reputable organizations. The first thing that they're lying to you about is how many people have heartburn. If we take a look at this study here, which was published in 2013, and this study looked at over 40,000 people, 20,000 men and 20,000 women. What they found is that 44% of those people had frequent heartburn. So more than 40% of people have frequent heartburn. This is a huge number. But if you actually go online and you type in how many people have heartburn, the numbers that you'll find are much lower than this. You'll typically find something like 10 to 20% of people have frequent heartburn, which is obviously a lot less than 44%. But why would there be such a big difference between these 2 numbers? Well, it comes down to money. It comes down to the fact that frequent heartburn is a risk factor for something called GERD, which is an extremely common condition where your stomach acid is backing up into your esophagus. Frequent heartburn is a risk factor for damage to the lining of your stomach and damage to the lining of your esophagus. And as a result, they decided to classify frequent heartburn as a disease called GERD, which stands for gastroesophageal reflux disease. And when they did this, they created a whole new industry that didn't exist before, which is the industry of treating GERD, which is caused by frequent heartburn. In fact, in 2019 alone, Americans spent $12 billion on medications to treat this problem. Now, obviously, the more people that they can convince to buy these medications, the more money they make. And the same goes with the doctors. The more patients that they can convince to take these medications, the more money they make. And so it shouldn't be a surprise that the numbers that they quote online are much lower than the actual numbers because this affects so many people. Now, the second thing that they're lying to you about is how bad heartburn is. If you go online and you read about heartburn, you'll see things like, "Oh, it's just a mild irritation. It's not a big deal. If you have occasional heartburn, don't worry about it. Occasional heartburn is normal, and it's not a big deal." But this is not true because heartburn can be quite serious. And I know this because I've seen it in my clinic. In fact, I've seen thousands of cases of severe heartburn that has been going on for years and years and years. And one of the most painful conditions that I've ever seen is erosive esophagitis, which is basically where you have severe heartburn which has been going on for a long period of time, which ends up creating ulcers in your esophagus. These ulcers end up scarring and narrowing your esophagus. And so, at that point, swallowing becomes extremely difficult. And some people even end up with food getting stuck in there esophagus because it is so narrow. Now, this is extreme, but the point is that it doesn't always start out this way. It starts out as heartburn, which might be occasional at first, but then, if left untreated, it can become frequent, which can lead to something called GERD, which, if left untreated, can end up creating these ulcers and causing all sorts of complications. So, the point is that heartburn isn't always a mild irritation. And I realize this because I've seen it get really, really bad. And if you think that I'm the only one that's seeing these cases, you'd be wrong. Here's another doctor who wrote a paper on erosive esophagitis, and he says here, erosive esophagitis is a clinic entity associated with significant morbidity and mortality. And then, he goes on to say here that early recognition and treatment is crucial. So basically, he is saying that this is a serious condition and you need to catch it early before it gets really, really bad. And now, the third thing that they're lying to you about is what you should do about your heartburn. And what I mean by this is that they re-pushing a certain medication for heartburn that has a lot of side effects. And the funny thing is that these side effects oftentimes end up making your heartburn worse. And so, let me explain. So one of the most common medications that they push for heartburn is something called an H2 blocker. And the way that this works is that it lowers the amount of stomach acid that you're reproducing. And this helps the heartburn in some cases. However, there are some problems with this. The main problem is that it lowers your stomach acid too much. When you have low levels of stomach acid, you're no longer able to break down your food properly, which ends up leading to a backup of partially digested food into your small intestine. That partially digested food ends up fermenting and creating gas and bloating and pain in your abdomen. And this is known as post-gastrointestinal symptoms. Now, all of this being said, you still might need medication for your heartburn. But wouldn't it be great if you could get rid of your heartburn without having to take medication? Wouldn't it be great if you could fix the root cause of the problem instead of just putting a band-aid on it? Because that's what a lot of these medications do. They just put a band-aid on it, and they don't fix the root cause of the problem. And the good news is that there are some simple techniques that you can use to get rid of your heartburn for good. And I'm going to share them with you right now. So the first thing that you need to do is make sure that you're re-eating the right foods. A lot of people are eating the wrong foods, and that's making their heartburn worse. And the way that you know that you re-eat in the wrong foods is that you feel bloated after you eat. If you're feeling bloated after you eat, it means that you're not digesting your food properly. And that can lead to more stomach acid production, which leads to more heartburn. So you need to make sure that you're eating the right foods. And if you want more information about that, I put a link down below showing exactly what you should eat to get rid of your heartburn. The next thing you need to do is start consuming bone broth. Bone broth is one of the best things that you can consume for your gut. It is like the perfect superfood for your gut, because it contains collagen and amino acids that help heal the lining of your stomach and the lining of your intestines. And this helps produce less stomach acid, and it helps heal any damage that you have in your stomach or in your esophagus. The next thing you need to do is start consuming probiotics. Probiotics are beneficial bacteria for your gut. And a lot of people don't realize that they have a big connection to your esophagus. And if you don't have the right types of probiotics in your gut, it can contribute to heartburn. So you need to make sure that you're reconsuming probiotics on a regular basis to help fix your heartburn. And if you want to learn more about probiotics, I put a link down below. Now, the last thing that you need to do is make sure that you're managing your stress. Stress can make your heartburn worse because stress raises a hormone called cortisol, and that can increase the amount of stomach acid that you're producing. So you need to make sure that you're managing your stress. And one of the best ways to manage stress is by exercising. Exercising releases endorphins that help reduce cortisol. And so exercising can be a great way to indirectly help fix your heartburn. Now, if you want to learn more about how to get rid of heartburn, I put a video up right here. Check it out.